All right, welcome back to another great episode of the Money Pillow podcast. This week, I am super excited to bring to you Anthea Cahill, or in the States we pronounce it Cahill, but she's from Canberra, Australia, which I didn't even know until just now is the capital of actually Australia. She's 35 years old, entrepreneur, and has a company called Real Chai, and is known as the Real Chai Tea Girl, I think, or something like that. And Anthea has a cool story. She, prior to starting this business, which is wildly successful, and I'm really excited kind of bring this to you because her start, how she got to where she is now from the very beginning, I think is a real it's a real attainable path, and I think one that you guys are going to relate to. So I guess, I don't know what else. Oh, I know what I was going to say. You worked in public service for a number of years prior to doing this, and pretty much hated it. And I don't know if that was a big motivation to start your own thing, or if it just kind of happened on accident, but you were able to quit your day job and do this full time, and you're doing really well. So welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Sean. It's so awesome to be here. I'm really excited. I was so excited I woke up at like 3:30 in the morning last night just thinking about it, because it's such a passion of mine to talk about business and share about business, because going into business is like the best thing that I ever did. So, and as you mentioned, I went from public servant who really hated their job, like probably mildly depressed. We actually worked when I was in the government, we worked in the basement, like literally in the basement. So I would go down the stairs each day, and I could feel my soul just dying each floor I went down. So, and I never really, fitted it in there. It was like a square peg in a round hole kind of thing. And
sure.
Like one day my boss, he even said to me, he was, cross at me. I was in trouble, and he was like, "You really don't fit in here." And I was like, "I know."
What a strange thing for a boss to say.
Yeah, well, I think he was like, because they used to call me Peace Pigeon. I worked for defense, which is a pretty full-on environment, and they would call me Peace Pigeon and Bleeding Heart and all these kinds of things. So I just...
Did you say Peace Pigeon?
Yeah.
I love it.
Totally. So it just wasn't for me, like the public service, it moves so slowly, and it seemed like if there was a smart way to do something, they would do it the exact opposite way. So I was kind of like tearing my hair out there, and
I can imagine. Well, let's not talk about that pain anymore, because I think a lot of people are probably listening going, "That's me." But you know what? I'm glad you brought this up. No, I'm glad you said what you did earlier, because I've been getting a lot of messages and emails from people just telling me how they're kind of inspired to start their own business now, and forever they've worked kind of typical jobs and weren't. And that's pretty much one of my big motivators for doing this podcast and then writing the book, is just to really show people it is possible to do it through breaking down everybody's stories, how they went from working in a crappy basement where they didn't fit in to running their own wildly successful business and kind of living life on their terms. And it's been great to get that feedback. So it's kind of cool. That's kind of the backbone of your story. And real quick, just tell us what you do now. What is it that you do? You have a company called Real Chai, is that right?
I have a company called Real Chai. So we actually we specialize in making loose leaf chai tea, and we sell it online. We sell online, but mostly our business started offline. So actually at just tiny, small local markets, and, just kind of took off from there. And I think the reason I wanted to share the story about the markets is it's such a tangible, accessible way. If you have an idea, you can hire a market store. You can get yourself a fold-out table, and you can launch this weekend if you have something ready to go.
Yeah, because that's what you did, right? You make chai tea, is that right?
That's it. Yeah.
And you basically got to the point where you're like, man, no one is making really good chai tea.
Exactly.
And I'm going to run down to my market, which in the States, in a lot of the bigger cities, we have these open air markets, or markets where you can rent space for the weekend or for the time that they're open. And then a lot of cities, just about every city now has farmers markets. And I see a lot of products there. outside of traditional farming goods. Like, traditionally here in the States at the farmers markets, you'll have apples, oranges, tomatoes, and just produce. But then you'll also see, like here in Santa Barbara, we have them, and you'll see people selling candles, incense, wind chimes, jewelry, things that they've made and stuff. So you use this concept. You went in Australia, and I've been to Australia and been to some pretty cool markets. We were talking about this the other day in Melbourne, Melbourne, or Melbourne as it's really called. And it's just like these giant, I don't know, like vendor malls, really. Anybody can rent a table and sell whatever they want. And I don't think they're as common here in the States. Maybe in bigger cities they are. But anyway, the farmers markets are everywhere, and I see people using it for the same kind of purpose. So you were walking, or you tried chai tea everywhere, thought it was garbage. And you said, you know what, I'm going to set up a little booth and start selling this. Is that right?
Yeah, well, it actually started in, I like to think I'm a bit of an accidental entrepreneur. So I didn't intentionally set out to start a business, but I discovered chai in the most unlikely places. So I was actually, because I was so unhappy in my job, I thought, that's it, I'm out of here. So I went backpacking. I didn't quit at first. I just thought, I'm going to go backpacking and just see, was not looking to find, a business or anything like that. But I was actually volunteering in the Czech Republic in this place where when I filled out the form, it was to build a yoga ashram, and then when I got there was no ashram, and no one really spoke English. Yeah, so I was like, that's cool, I'll go with the flow. So I'm here for 3 weeks, so whatever, I'll make the most of it. So we lived in these teepees in the middle of the forest, and there was no electricity or anything like that. And then one day they said, let's go to town. So we went into town, and in that town there was this beautiful tea house. It just, we don't have anything like it in Australia. I don't know if you have them in the States, but it's this beautiful space. No, I hadn't. I just fell in love with it, and I had, you'd sit in there for hours and you'd drink your tea. And so we're in a big group, and this girl who was volunteering, she gave me a sip of her drink, and I had never had chai before. I'd never even heard of chai before, to be honest. And I just had this one sip, and I was like, oh my God, what is this drink? Fell in love with it, and got the guys who were leading the volunteer group, spoke a little bit of English, and they introduced me to the cafe owners, and they taught me all about it. So I had this whole impromptu lesson, and then I came back home, and I had to go back to my job. So I still had this job, and every day at 3:00 I would make everyone chai. So we had chai time in the office, and it was the only part of my day that I loved. So I was like, I think it's so important that you choose something that you love, and sometimes it can be really obscure, like, how can I make money out of this thing? Like making tea for my friends doesn't seem like a very viable kind of business, but it was actually my partner who had the idea. He's like, well, why don't you just try it at the local market and see if there's a demand? So that's what we did. So we just hired the gazebo came with the market. We hired a table, we hired a stove. I think the only thing I brought to get started was like 2 pots to make our chai in. And then, the night before, one of my good friends made me up a sign. We were up till 1 a.m. making this sign. So it was about as
Was it on like a piece of paper where you're drawing?
Not quite. No, it was actually beautiful. She's very talented, so it was beautifully sewn and stuff. But
you're kidding? How cool!
Yeah. But and I've still got it today, which is really nice. And every now and then I bust it out to have that kind of handmade feel.
Right.
But yeah, it's like that kind of ease of accessibility. Like anyone, you just you go and you talk to the market and you bring something there, and within a couple of hours you've got a sense of whether people are interested in what you're doing or not.
I love it. We talked in an earlier episode with Mike, with Daniel Vitello, and he ran Google AdWords to a fake page where there wasn't anything for sale when they hit buy. And it's so crucial, I think, to test something like that. And you're able, what do you have, $150 invested into the...
Exactly. Yeah. Start up with $150. So, and we made $300 on our first day. So, that's a good sign. I think it's tiny. It's like tiny, but it's in the positive. So you're like, okay, well, there's something.
How much did you make your first day?
$300.
And what were you selling? Cups of it?
Just cups of it. Yeah.
Did you go to the store and buy like 50 cups or 100 cups or something?
Exactly. Yeah. I've got some milk from the supermarket and just kind of went from there. And I love the idea. I've heard of the trying things out on Google too. I think there's a lot of translation between how you can operate offline and online as well. And then the added bonus when you're doing it in a real market, so you get extra info, so you get body language, and rather than say like it's pretty clear info. If no one clicks on your Google ad, that's some info, but you can like draw them in and talk to them about what they like and don't like. And it's amazing feedback that you get. So we even came up with the name, our brand name, from being at the markets, because we would give our market business kind of relies on tasting. So people, it's a very sensual product. It's beautiful to taste. So they have a taste and then they buy it. We have like a 25% conversion rate.
So you pass out little cups with samples.
We do, yeah.
And you're still operating in the markets today, right?
We still do, yeah,
okay, cool.
because it's such a...
Well, hold on, before you say too much, let's kind of rewind. And actually, just totally random side note, I can see some books on your shelf back there, but I can't read the titles or anything. But I think I see there's a blue book behind you, kind of in the middle right there. Is that Richard Bach 1?
It is, yeah. You love that book?
It's an amazing... I haven't read it in about 15 years, but it's a great book.
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
It's a pretty moving book. Have you read it?
He's got the other one with the seagull, Jonathan
Livingston Seagull, and Illusions is another great one if you've read that.
I haven't read that one, but he's good.
He's really good. Okay, so let's... sorry for that interruption. I've just been staring at it the whole time you were talking, and I'm like, is that one? Yeah. It's a cool book. It's not a business book, but a lot of good things to take from it. So anyway, you start in this market. Your first day, you're up, what were you selling, like $3 a cup or something like that?
Something like, yeah.
So you sold roughly 100 drinks. Over how many hours was this?
So this is probably, stretching my memory now, but probably from like, markets usually run from like 10 till 3 or something like that.
Okay, so 5 hours and $60 an hour, and you had $150 in cost in the booth rental, is that right?
Exactly.
And maybe $30 in supplies or something. So you're $150 profit day one. Interesting. Okay, so you leave and you're like, wow, I just made a little bit of money. I got a lot of good feedback. I'm sure people were like, oh my God, this is amazing, kind of having the same experience you did.
Yeah.
Is it a tea you would just go to the store and buy and then bring to the market and brew, or did you somehow learn how to make this yourself?
Yeah, that's going back to what you started talking about. There was nothing here that tasted like the one that I'd had overseas. So the traditional, so we brew it for a long time on the stove. There's like, cheap, nasty tea bags in the stores here, and there's some, pretty ordinary loose leaf blends. And so I guess there was a gap in the market that I saw. There was nothing that was exceptional. So I went in there kind of, with that is a bit of a selfish motivation. So I wanted to satisfy my own taste buds. And
how did you learn how? You made your own, right?
I did, yeah.
How did you learn this?
Just, it's quite, I don't have a distinct moment where I went, that is the recipe that I can remember, but I just used to make it for all my family and friends. So that's how it translated. But how did you learn how to do that? Was it just you went to Google and you searched how to make chai tea? No. Well, that was in the cafe. That very first sip I had, that was my lesson, was through this translated version from these guys. Oh, they gave you instructions there. Got it. They totally did. Makes sense now. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Interesting. So... Yeah. And then you really just had your memory to go off of, but you knew when you tasted it after you were making it, like, this is damn good. 10 times better. This is how it's supposed to be. Yeah. And it took a while, actually, between getting back to Australia and actually starting my business. So I did procrastinate. Like, I had a great idea, and then I did what a lot of people do with a great idea and just sat on it, for like a long time. I've got so much going on right now, and the good ideas don't stop coming. It kills me sometimes, because I can't act on them. But anyway, so yeah, I hear you. That procrastination will get a lot of people. And so you had this concept and idea. It took you, about a year to kind of get to that place where you're in the market on that first day? You know what? It actually took about 5 years that I sat on that idea. Oh, my good Lord. Imagine where you'd be now if you were a little bit more of a motivated, No, yeah, or wasn't scared. So that's why I just love talking about it to people, because it's really not that scary. Like, if you just do it, and you think back now and you're like, I'd be 10 years ahead, like, and I know in another 5 years we'll be in amazing places. So it's crazy, but you do what you do, like the time, you do your best at the time. But and I'm sure if you really analyzed it, there were probably several things that happened in that 5 years that, had you rushed into it, things may have been
a lot different in some fashion or another. I don't know about for you, but oftentimes I have ideas and I get frustrated that it took me 2 years to go from idea to actual product. And but then oftentimes I'll look back on that process and be like, geez, if I had done it right away, I wouldn't have thought of this, and I wouldn't have thought of this, and I wouldn't have thought of this. And had I launched or put something out there without that stuff in place, it may not have had the success it's having now. So I don't know about you, but I often look back on things, and generally it seems like everything works out just the way it's supposed to.
Yeah, there is that kind of right place, right time kind of thing. But in this case, I do wish I'd just gone for it earlier. I can't actually think of particular things that I did.
There wasn't some ingredient that was just invented the week before you went live?
Yeah,
No.
I just needed to go do it, yeah.
You did, yeah. Well, I don't mean that you should always just marinate on things and take your time. I just mean in general, usually when I look back on things, everything happened for the right reasons. So anyway, all right, so moving along. So you sell 300 cups of tea that first day. Did you go right back the next day?
No, so that's the thing with the markets here. They're only like on once a week, so they're just on the weekends. So there's, quite a lag.
Did you do it on
time
Saturday
between.
and skip out on Sunday, or was it just a Saturday market or a Sunday market?
That was a Saturday one, yeah. So
no
and
Sunday.
No Sunday, that one. And it was interesting because on that very first day, it's kind of like going back to that whole accidental entrepreneur. So everything I've done in the beginning, now I plan things, very strategically. But in the beginning, I was just kind of winging it. All I wanted to do was make chai and see how it went. So rock up to the market, and someone on that very first day said to me, do you want some help? Like, would you like a staff member? And I was like, well, yes, I would. That's a good idea. Yes, I would like some staff. And it was actually really fortunate that happened so early on, because, markets are on the weekends. And one motivation for me in wanting to do my own thing was wanting to have a family. And I thought, if I could just work 1 or 2 days a week, that would be quite cool and satisfying in itself. But then I realized you're kind of out of sync with the world if you're working on the weekends.
I know. I oftentimes see realtors, doing open houses and all that on the weekends, and I'm just like, man, I can't imagine. Yeah.
No, it's not. It's like the most precious time. So I've really quickly, learnt that I needed to find another. I wanted to do this. Like, already from the first day I knew I wanted to do it, but I needed to find a way that was going to fit in with my lifestyle as well. Yeah.
And what are we talking about? Was this 2008?
It was, back in 2008.
Got it. So 2003, you took your little vacation, came
back,
and
back around for 5 years, then finally did it.
You did. Okay, so the market's only one day, so then you're probably really excited to go back the next week, I would imagine.
Yeah. You're staying up, the night before till 2 a.m. and we were kind of doing everything by hand and chopping up the ginger and, all that kind of cool stuff that you only get to do once. Like, you only have that initial rush kind of once.
Oh, God, so I know it.
Really cool time. Yeah.
So you did all that. You went back the second week. How was the second week?
And I think, we consistently we never went backwards. So from that very first day, we just improved each kind of week. But there was a reason why as well. So from the very first day, I've got some photos, and I was looking back, just recently, and there's like no one around our stall. It's like kind of tumbleweed, but we did obviously get a few customers.
A few? You had 100 or close to 100. That's not bad.
Yeah, well, now, sometimes we have thousands, so it's a big kind of...
Holy cow. Okay, well, this is the part I'm excited to get to, but let's not rush it, because I think this journey is important. So, second week, you maybe made 350 as opposed to 300 in revenue.
Yeah.
Third week, 400. Is that kind of how it looks?
I don't remember exactly,
the growth. But okay, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
You started to mention earlier that early on there was no one around you. Did you get a better location within the market?
Well, no, I think what changed really quickly was I kind of had that mentality, like, build it and they will come. Like, well,
Sure.
We have this awesome chai, so all I have to do is rock up and people will just come. And then I was like, oh, they're not coming. Like, I have to do something here. So that's where we came up with the idea of giving out tasters and really engaging with our customers. And that's how we've built
do you act
the
like
whole...
do you act like a server where you get a tray and you walk around in the general vicinity of your thing, or just put them
Yeah,
around
we just stand at our stall and
out
offer
front?
people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just so simple, but because it tastes so good, as soon as they have a taste, they love
One
it.
out of 4 people are buying. Yeah.
Out of 4, yeah. And we had to learn how to, learn sales skills and all that kind of thing as well. So I had 0 before, but when you're kind of, I didn't quit my job straight away, but I did about 8 months into it. And when you're all of a sudden depending on it from your income, you have to learn pretty fast.
Right.
What kind of works and what doesn't.
Yeah, I find that if you carry a bat, you can get people to do what you want pretty easily.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Is that enough? Yeah.
Screw all the sales skills. Just go get a bat. I'm teasing.
Yeah.
Obviously. So my question then is this. Was that like one of the first big epiphanies you got to really increase sales, passing out samples? Or was it? Yeah?
Yeah, it
and
was.
You're still in the same location the whole time so far?
Yeah. And, actually we did move pretty, like to shortcut the story a little bit, we did leave that market pretty quickly because it didn't have the volume of people.
But you're still making money. Why leave?
Because there were better ones. So we
But
just
you
went
had
to
a
them.
girl that wanted to work for you, right? Or somebody wanted to help you.
That's right. So what we did was we left that one and we went to 2 better ones. So
Okay.
we started off with 1 and then we went to 2 bigger ones. And then because they did have staff in there, then we ended up, this is not, in the space of weeks, this is probably over a year, I reckon. Then we ended up doing 3 on the same weekend. So
Holy
I ended
cow.
up...
So within the first year, you're doing 3.
Yeah, and growing a team. And that was a massive, massive learning curve.
I can
for me.
imagine, yeah.
Yeah, I'd never managed a team, and I wasn't very good at conflict, and I was a bit of a pushover really. So people could do whatever they want. One day I came in and one of my staff was like wandering around the market. No one's at the stall, and my approach to this was like, just be really nice to them. Like maybe I'll buy them a present, and then they'll do what they're supposed to do.
Oh my God, you're kidding me.
No.
Yeah, I used to be that way, but I've gotten to the point now where it's just it's not personal anymore, and I don't. That doesn't even enter my mind. It's just, you know what I mean. Hey, you were hired to do this, or your expectations are this, and you're not. We need to fix this or move on. Yeah.
Totally, and especially when it's if it's your livelihood and you're doing it for your family, it's just not respectful if people aren't kind of on your side. But another really helpful insight I learned around staff was hiring people who are high performers.
Yeah.
So, there's a small percentage of the population who are really intrinsically motivated. So they want to do a great job regardless of you. Like you don't have to be there and watch over them. They have really high standards themselves. So now our entire team is like that. So it means I don't have to, I barely talk to them, and I love them all. But we don't actually have any crossover because they do such a good job by themselves. They take it and they run with it, and that's
amazing. Yeah, what's funny? I used to be both kinds of people. I used to be the one that wandered around the market and didn't give a crap.
Yeah.
And I almost got fired from a job. They kind of shaped me up, but at the same time, a second job I had that I just got so sick and tired of the manager just being on my case all the time that I said, screw it. I'm going to work as hard as I can for a couple weeks, and if he doesn't get off my case, I'm going to quit, right?
Yeah.
And so I busted my butt in like a weekend, and I'm like, geez, I'm making better money. And the time, I didn't really care for the job. The time was flying by a lot faster. And then I started realizing people were treating me better. And then within 30 days, so I just decided that was going to be how I worked forever. And I took that job. Like I ended up awarding me Employee of the Month the following month.
Yeah.
I literally went from his least liked employee to the best. And I just realized it's like, if you're going to do something, just be great at it, no matter what it is, and that's always kind of been my approach. So I can appreciate that. That's what you look for when you hire.
Yeah, great experiment. Like obviously it's stuck with you now and everything.
Oh, it did. Everything I did. Yeah. The other job I almost got fired from was because I'm not very punctual, and unfortunately that didn't stick with me.
You know what? That is a great entrepreneur, because neither am I. And I think that's kind of cool. Like I'm not for obviously you want to respect people's time, but in terms of like a workspace where you have to be there from 9 till 5, and it's about bums on seats and being there for that time. That always drove me crazy in the public service.
Yeah.
If I am efficient enough to do this in 2 hours, then you should be really happy with that, and I should be able to go because that's way
either that
smarter.
or you can give me 2 more hours of work and then I can go because I'm getting twice as much done.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's how I run my company now. There's no time set schedules. It's just expectations, and some people work an hour a day and some people work 12. And as long as they're doing their job and going above and beyond, that's awesome. I don't care. So, okay, let's just skip forward because it sounds like this is such a distant memory for you that you can't remember what week 16 sales were like and things like that.
Yeah.
So you split how long? 5 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks? You left the first market and went to 2 bigger ones?
Yeah, quite soon. I reckon it was about 6 weeks.
6 weeks.
We're still at those 2 markets now because they're such
They're good.
a good platform. Yeah.
Did you go to both of them at the same time when you left the one, or did you do one and?
No, we did both. Yeah.
So you left Market A and then said, okay, next weekend we're doing Market B and Market C. Who worked? Was the person who came up at Market A and asked if you needed help, or they an employee of yours that helped make that possible?
Yeah, definitely. So they came to pretty much both of those markets, and then I handed them over to her quite quickly, and probably in hindsight too early before I'd fully systemized and worked out what I'd done. But
you did what you did, and you probably learned a lot from the mistakes that you made. So is that person still with you today?
No, they left pretty early actually because after buying presents and finding that didn't work, I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to get someone else. So
yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Oh, that was the person that was wandering. Okay, so let's talk about that though. You split, you go to 2 markets. First week, I'm sure you worked one, right?
Yeah, I would have worked both of them with her at the time.
How can you be 2 places at once?
So this one's Saturday and Sunday. So there's a Saturday morning one, and then there's a Sunday one that we still do. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you weren't in 2 places at one time. It was just Saturday here, Sunday there.
Exactly.
Okay, as opposed to being Saturday at Market A that wasn't really, it was doing okay, but whatever. All right, so you start doing Saturday and Sunday at the 2 new markets. What was that first week like in comparison to the $300, $400, $500 you were making a day before?
Yeah, I think that it was probably, I wish I could remember more detail to give you more useful answers.
Just ballpark.
I think it was probably actually around the same when we first got started, because you're going into a new place, and so we'd already gone to a certain level at the other one, and then we hit the ground at that same level at the new one, and then it grew from there.
Yeah, do you find you get a lot of repeat customers each weekend?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, because in Columbus, Ohio, I used to visit a market, and we had this cool one there. I forget what it was called. The North Market. And so we used to, it's actually, I was saying earlier, we don't really have many of these, but now that I think about it, we had one there. And anyway, I would go, and there was a gelato, was it gelato? There's gelato, that like a really nice ice cream kind of deal that I would always get. And then there was also a juicing company that I love, shots of wheatgrass. And so every time I went there, I would get one or 2 or both of those things.
Yeah.
So I imagine you start developing a little bit of a following.
You do, and it's word of mouth as well.
Sure.
So yeah, which works incredibly well. And people are creatures of habit; like they do their weekly shopping,
That's
and it becomes
what I'm
part
talking
of their
about.
ritual. Yeah, totally. And they have their destinations that they go to around the market. So that's been a really nice way to grow our business as well. Because Canberra, even though it's the capital of Australia, it's pretty small. There's only like 400,000 people here, so it's a great, small, I call it a small town really, great places to start an offline business, because everyone, there's like 0 degrees of separation and everyone's really supportive, and I think people really love to see people do their own thing and start their own business. Like people really got behind
always
us.
pulling for the underdog. Yeah,
totally. Yeah. And
I love it. I support, we all do, we want to support the small guy,
Exactly. Yeah.
So okay, so now you're working 2 new markets. You're 6, 7, 8 weeks in, something like that, and you've gone from $300 in revenue or $400, probably close to $1,000. I'm assuming in those first.
Exactly.
Yeah. Which is awesome, but at the same time, you're now working 7 days a week, right?
Exactly. Yeah, and that's fine.
Well, you love what you do. It's probably more fun in the beginning for you to go to work and like, oh my God, I can't believe this is working. I'm making money. People are loving it. So that's oftentimes more fun in early stages than going surfing or doing whatever. Would you agree with that?
It's like intoxicating, you've discovered this new thing. And for me, going from something, not being happy to discovering this thing that was creative, and I could dictate how I wanted things to look and what I wanted to do. And you had direct feedback and direct impact, whereas, in a job, you might not see results for ages. It was very instant. So, it was a buzz for sure. And you stay up late and you don't mind. Like, you don't see the time
you're
fly
loving
by.
it. Yeah, no, I think any entrepreneur listening or anybody who's started a business can relate. Those early days can be super invigorating and more fun and entertaining than things that you do for recreation anyway. So,
yeah.
All right, so how long did you do that? Let's just talk, I guess. So we're a couple months in. You're working 7 days a week. Do you think it's safe to say you're bringing in close to $1,000?
Yeah, I do. And I actually was working. So what I did was I was, doing part-time in my public service job. So I did have a spare day, but that was just spent kind of,
Oh, at that point,
preparing.
before you started the business, you were working part-time?
Yeah. So
okay.
I had this...
So it wasn't ridiculous.
It was doable, but there definitely came a tipping point, and that was about 8 months in, where I could see very clearly that it was going to be viable. So, but I couldn't, even with that spare day at that stage, I couldn't juggle. I needed downtime.
Yeah.
So
let's just talk about this. 8 months in. What are weekend revenues like, or weekly revenues like at this point? Are you still in that? Did you kind of plateau at about $1,000 a weekend?
We made about $80,000 in our first 12 months. So I don't know what that is.
And that is mainly coming from 2 markets, right?
Yeah, at that stage exclusively from 2 markets. So we hadn't gone down we didn't have a website and all that kind of jazz.
Nothing. Okay, so you made $80,000. So your numbers really picked up. Probably the second part of the year, and I imagine you were $1,500 a week, because I think 52 weeks in a year, $1,500, that'd be $78,000, right?
Yeah, and because I was running the markets myself, so now obviously a lot of that goes back into my team, so
right,
they can run it. But I was doing.
How many hours is it total?
Like
to show up, set up, sell, tear down, and go? Like, what is that like? If it's a 5-hour opening, is it 6-7 hours work?
Yeah, one's like 7 and one's like 9 the other day.
That they're actually open, or the working
time? No, with your pack up and your setup. And you got to, it's a hands-on business, so you got to clean up and, it's all the back end. And then... So
you got 16 hours a weekend. What are wages like at this point? Is it $10 an hour job, $12 an hour?
In Australia, our wages are a bit higher. So for people around 20 years old, it's about $20 an hour kind of thing. So...
Got it. So that's a significant amount. And what's that? $20 an hour times 16 is $320. Your profits are $500. You're only walking away with, well, no, they'd be $750 on average if you had that. So you're still walking away with $400 extra money if you're paying somebody to do it, right? So I just did a whole math equation on you, yeah.
Didn't you?
At the wages you told me, in making $1,500 in sales, assuming, I don't know, your cost with booth rental and tea and everything, half?
Yeah, that's the other beauty of markets. I mean, our costs have gone down significantly now because we buy in bulk, but for a market itself, it's, I think it was like $40 a day or something. So they're really you can't rent a shop front for anywhere near that.
Oh, so you only paid $40 a day. Let's just say you did $1,500 in a weekend in this first year. What were without employees? I'm just curious. What were the costs like? If it's $40, you got 2 days. That's $80 there. $100 in material? $200 in material?
Yeah, materials depending on a number of different variables, but maybe 50% back in those days. So materials were fairly high, and now they're a lot less.
Oh, really? So if you sold a $3 chai, you had $1.50 in material in there.
Yeah. Just from not, the economies of scale. So now we can get everything less, and we would have
get them for a quarter of what you were paying back then, or even a tenth, I bet.
We would have brought it the most expensive way, from the supermarket shelf until we found bulk suppliers and all that kind of jazz.
Yeah, at that point though, you literally were making less than half, or around half. So so that's fair. So if you did $1,500 in revenue, $750 in costs plus Well, whatever. Okay, so 750. And in the first year, at what point did you start hiring employees so that you didn't have to work as many days a week?
Yeah, so we obviously had, people helping at the stall straight away. I reckon it was probably, we've been doing it for a long time with the staff kind of model.
Do you write the answers up there on the ceiling?
Yeah, that's what I do when I'm thinking, yeah.
I saw my accountant one time. My accountant said that to me one time. He's like, what do you think, the answer's up there on the ceiling? When he was asking me questions.
So.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's cool. That's cool. I'm going to keep doing it. Yeah, so probably about a year in, I would have
At a year, you're like, I'm over it. And you quit your job at 8 months?
Yeah. So the second I kind of, and I had a decent paying, it was an IT consultant. So, I had a decent kind of wage. But the second the business got to the point where it could pay my bare bones bills and the business bills, then I was like, I'm out of here.
I'm out. So, at 8 months, it hit that point.
And it was a leap of faith too, because it wasn't making a heap of money, but I thought, well, if you can do this kind of just dabbling, and if I can put myself right into it now, like I know that it's up and running, and I had the benefit of a job income so it took the pressure off. It didn't matter.
Yeah, no, I love it. And I oftentimes encourage people to try and do that so they don't get divorced. And,
yeah, totally.
Things like that. They come from the stress.
You got to eat. Like if I'd had to live on that wage for that first, and I think that first 12 months, maybe online businesses, obviously there's a much lower cost to entry, which is really appealing, but new businesses can be hungry. They want to cash. So if you've got a source of income that you can play with, and then you can do that on the side, it makes it so much easier. Yeah, and there's no risk. Yeah.
Well, yeah, now okay, cool. At a minimum, my needs are covered. I'm only working a couple days a week. Blah, blah.
Yeah.
Okay, so next question. What was the thought process when you quit, or at the end of that first year? Was it, we just need to get into more markets, or did you start thinking about business on a bigger scale, or what was your thought process at that point?
Yeah, so I definitely was looking to, now that I'd quit, I was looking to how I can make it kind of serious, like, into a real kind of business. Cause
you didn't think through this prior to quitting? It was just like, I'm done. I love it.
Well, I saw it. It gave me enough. So I'm
just going to quit, and then I'll have all kinds of time to think about how I can expand this.
Well, then I was also too, then I was like, well, then I'm serious. Like, then I have to make it work. Because you can kind of hedge your bets a bit when you're working as well. So you can, oh, yeah, that's nice, and it's like almost like a hobby. It's making a little bit of money, but it's kind of like a hobby. So it was actually, kind of forcing myself to get serious about it.
Right.
So I think that's probably around the time where we started a website as well. So very, very close.
What was the idea with the website? People could order online?
Yeah, exactly. I might have even started that just before I left, actually.
And was that how were you going to market that? Just advertise, like when people came in, put your sign on the banner, have business cards there with your website? What was your intention with that?
Yeah, well, it came about because so we had a lot of regulars at one market, and then another market is a very big tourist market. So there's like 5,000 to 10,000 people.
I love it. So they're coming in and they say, where can I get this? This is amazing.
Exactly. So I was like, well, you can get it online. So this is where I kind of, dipped my toe into the online world, and learnt really early on, the value of a list. So we started collecting people's.
I love it. You're doing email marketing.
Yeah, getting people into the family, and we created a video of how to make chai, and would send them the video, which was really helpful. And we kind of refined the website too. So initially, I just had this site that was just products, just said real chai, like
buy my stuff.
Yeah, and my friend, I remember going in. This is why I know that I'd created it before I left, because I remember going into work one day, and he was like, "Welcome to Chai Corp." Like, he looked at the website and he was like, "It's so stuffy," So that was a big turning point as well too, when I realized that you got to be a person. Like, people are not, and that's the same at the market. So they're not, the chai is great, but they're actually buying a piece of you as well. So if they like you, essentially, they want to do business with you. So same in, that's why I tried to make the tone of the website really personal, and all our emails are, I like to joke around, so they're quite humorous, and that kind of makes you stand out from the other. I don't know how many you've got in the States, but there's quite a few chais here in Australia now.
There's 7 here in the States.
Is that all?
Yeah, I counted right before we did the interview.
I'm coming to the States.
I'm just kidding. I have no clue. There's probably 7,000 chai companies. Okay, so you build your website, and I imagine that just money started raining from the sky because people were buying.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just like the 7 chais in the States.
Yeah. No one bought a thing, right?
Build it and they will come. Yeah. So we kind of did have instant sales in that we'd built up an audience already. So it was very easy for that. They were looking for it. So it wasn't
wait a minute. You say we built up an audience already, and I get it. You have people coming in saying, where can I buy this? And then instant sales, I mean, if you didn't have people's information, you weren't collecting emails, like how did they find out about it? Or were these just people coming into the market buying it? Where can I get it? Oh, we just launched a website. Go to realchaitea.com. And
yeah, so they would come to the market, and then, because they'd been asking for where do I get it before we'd built it up, so I was already collecting their details to let them know when it was live.
Oh, perfect. So you did do this. And did you do most entrepreneurs that do their first email marketing, did you write an email to yourself and then blind carbon copy all the people in there?
No, I used Constant Contact.
Look at you, all sophisticated.
Yeah. And I've just changed over now. I'm just trying MailChimp at the moment, but I don't really like that either. So, it's
how
fine.
many people are on your list now?
We've got about 3,500 on the list now.
3,500, okay.
Yeah. And they're, it's not a massive list, but it's a really
engaged and responsive, I bet.
Really engaged, yeah. So, and we've never, because I was so focused in the real world, I didn't get really serious. I did the bare basics, so we started collecting people's details, and we did do a newsletter, but I haven't run campaigns with it, or there's a lot more. We haven't done Google ads or anything outside of our little world, so there's a huge potential to get serious in that space. Let's
talk about that either after the call's over or towards the end, because we've done a lot of that, and I could probably give you some good advice that'll save you a ton of time and energy and get you on the path to profit.
I'm all for that. Yeah.
So you said you had an immediate rush of sales, not immediate, but in the beginning there was an initial rush.
Immediate sales, yeah. So people started coming in.
I mean, what was that like? Do you remember you getting your first order online?
Don't, no, unfortunately. Yeah. I would be good to go back because you can see, your history in there. Yeah. I do remember my first customer though, because she's still our customer. And I remember like a year or two ago, I wrote to her and I was like, "Did you know that you're our first customer?" So,
you're kidding?
Yeah, so that's really nice.
So this was somebody that came into the market, said, "Where can I get this?" You collected her information. You said, "Hey, Sally, here it is." We launched it.
She lived in Sydney. She's still buying from us. So it's really nice. And in the beginning, you do know, like, everyone's names were familiar, and not from in the real world, but you see them coming in and you remember them, and then it grows, and obviously you lose that close contact, but in the beginning it's really nice. It's really for sure. Personal. Yeah.
Okay, so you got that first sale. You don't remember the moment though where it was like, "Oh my God, we made a sale." All that work was worth it.
I know. I wish I did.
I'm sure it was a big moment.
Yeah, we've definitely had major kind of moments in our business, and that should have been one, but I can't remember it.
Yeah. Well, I can imagine. Do you remember, and just out of curiosity, I want to keep moving because we're kind of dragging. Do you remember the first cup that you sold?
I do remember the first cup I sold, yeah. And it was actually to a friend. It was the girl who made the banner.
Oh, you're kidding.
Yeah.
How sweet.
I was like, you can't buy it. She's like, I have to buy it.
Do you ever remind her that she was your very first customer?
Yeah. And I send her photos and stuff as well, so it's really nice.
Oh, that's so sweet. Okay, so first year, 80 grand, you quit your job, you're in 2 markets. Where's the growth? And this is 2008 this happened, roughly, whatever. Part of 2008, part of 2009. Where's 2009? Like, how did that look?
Yeah, so I think what happened in 2009 was we stepped it up a bit. So same kind of market, but what we did was initially we just launched in, brown paper bag. Another friend made my label the night before, and because initially we were just doing the cups, and then we went to get into this other market. It's going backwards. Sorry to complicate it, but to get into one of these markets, we had to have a product. I wanted to sell hot chai, and they were like, "Well, you can't. Like, it's against our rules. But come in and have an interview and just bring your product." And I was like, "Well, I don't have a product. Shit." So that night before, what we were making in the big pots. I worked out how to do that in a small scale, and we packaged that up, and that's how our product was born, the retail product. So
and what are you talking about? A bag of herbs and spices?
Exactly, yeah. So it's a tea blended with spices, and that was a huge lesson for me too, because I always say now, like, look for the yeses. So they said, no, you can't come in here and sell your chai in this hot form. And that's all I wanted to do. That's all I thought of at that stage. And because they said no, and I still wanted to go to that market, I had to kind of get creative. And then it turns out that's actually, been our bread and butter ever since, is having a tangible product that we can sell. And obviously you can't sell a cup of chai online. So
this is a brand new market though, and you're selling bags with herbs and spices in it.
Yeah.
But nobody's tasted your tea.
No, so we have little tasters there. So we're allowed to give tasters, but not cups of it. Yeah.
Got it. So you gave tasters. What are your conversions 1 and 4 with that too?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really cool.
What's a bag of tea cost?
So they start at $7.50 and they go up to $47. So there's a range of different sizes in there.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So you show them this bag. At this point, you don't have labels or anything, but you're like, here it is. Here's a sample. You can taste it. They're like, okay, you're in. You're approved. You set up shop.
So we've done that, and then
How was that though? I mean, literally, how was that first day selling bags of tea?
That's the day when I realized that we really needed to be able to sell to make it happen. So you've got this product range, and you have to put yourself out there. So
yeah, no longer are you providing a product that everyone needs in the form of a refreshment. Yeah. Now you're providing something that, I get it, totally different. So now you kind of really need to have your sales skills.
You do, yeah.
Okay.
So, and I didn't necessarily have them, but I certainly sorted out. So, it's not like people don't teach selling and all of these things aren't available. So we looked into all of that. But what we did too was we changed our packaging in the second year, and we started getting media traction as well. So we got on the front page of our local paper and in a special in their food and wine, and we changed the packaging from just a homemade brown paper bag to beautifully printed tins, and we got better at selling all around the same time. So we went from like 80 to 160 in the next year, doing basically the same kind of. So it was a full year that time, so there's obviously extra sales in there, but doing basically the same markets but doing them better. So better looking product.
Yeah, so I can imagine you in that second year, did you figure out the whole 10 thing and everything?
Exactly. Yeah.
Did that make a big difference in sales?
Yeah, well, so seriously, our first market's $300. So we launched the new packaging one day at a different market. It was a one-off event, this market, and we did $3,000 in that day.
Holy cow.
Brand new packaging, and with a brand new staff member as well, all on the same day. So that's
hard to tell which actual thing made the big difference, but I get it. So you did 3,000 in one day. This is in year 2, right?
Yeah.
Did you freak out?
Yeah, that day, that's one of the moments I remember. Yeah. And I remember like getting the call because my dad actually counted up the money for me while we were off, packing up and whatever. And I can totally remember getting the call going, $3,000, that's amazing. And then we went out to dinner and all of that jazz. So that was one of those turning points. That was really cool.
Yeah, so just to rewind just a hair, and then I want to keep moving forward because we're starting to run out of time. You launched, you get into this new market, they say, you can't sell, and then you, okay, well, cool, we'll come up with a product, get the product, sales start going really well with that. Did you take that same product and now offer it at the other 2 markets where you were selling the tea as well?
Yeah, exactly. Well, the one, we did that at one of the markets. The other one, we're still there and we still can't sell the tea. So it's only product based there, which has been fine because that's led to our online sales. That's where all the tourists are. So
Oh, they won't allow you to sell that.
still not, no, but that's
Why not?
fine. We just work around it. I think, there's different cafes and legislations and different stuff in the area. So
Someone on the board, yeah,
we've
has some control there. Okay, but that drives the online sales, so I get it. So that helps work. And at the other market where you started offering the tea, did sales immediately double?
The other one where we started offering the tea,
In
you
the
mean?
tins, sorry, as opposed to just a refreshment.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. That's kind of being, like I said, the bread and butter ever since. So that's where our focus then ended up being. So, and that has applied across both of them. So the people who are drinking the cups, they now make it at home as well. So they can get a hot cup and then they can go home and they can take it home as well.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. Did you find people coming up and buying, and like a half hour later coming back and go, oh, this is amazing, I have to buy a 10?
Yeah, totally. And we do things like, so if you buy your cup and then you wander around, we'll take the price of your cup off when you come back and buy a tin as well, because we know that it's going to happen. Because you find people say the same things a lot. You get a lot of the same feedback. So you learn what everyone wants there and what works as well really quickly.
Sure. Very cool. Okay, so second year you do 160.
Yeah.
And are you making more now this year than you did with your IT job?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Which is great.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. So 2 years in, you're already doing better. You didn't even have to quit until you were making enough to pay the minimum bills.
Yeah.
The website's starting to generate some revenue. Do you remember ballpark how much the website did in revenue? $5,000-$10,000?
Yeah, it was pretty low. I reckon it was probably about 5. Yeah.
Okay, so then you're in a third market now selling the product.
Yeah.
That forced you to create the product to get in there, which then helped boost sales at the other locations.
Exactly. And this is where I'm starting to think it's too much as well to do it all by myself, like to be the team leader. So that's when I start hiring people and training them to manage. And that's the cool part. So, now I've done the learning curve and I've been there and I've been hands-on. But the really great part, I think, is when you get to pass it on, like you can do. Because the online world is so appealing. Like it's so, you create your product, you have to work hard to do that, but then it's set.
Sure.
But you can totally do that at a market or in a, even in a retail, like a franchise or anything like that as well. So that's been, the direction that we took from there was to kind of hand it over to a really cracking team. So that's been the beauty of doing.
Was that year 3 that you did that?
Yeah, I'd say it's around year 3.
So year 3, you're no longer spending your weekends in the market.
But still getting drawn back in, like to teach people things or if something's not working. So it wasn't completely leveraged still until I mastered hiring the right staff. And then we got operations manuals. We wrote everything down. Everyone's trained the same way.
God, give me a headache thinking about doing that, but I get it. Yeah.
But I hired one of my staff actually did that as well. So, learning to do the things you love and get, really systematic people to do things like writing systems manuals. Yeah. Because they love it. That's their attention to detail. They're in their happy place and you cannot do it.
Yeah, it really plays to their strengths. I get it. So, okay. Yes. So year 3, are you still at the end of year 3 only in those 3 markets?
Yeah, by that stage, year 3, year 4, I'm like, well, this is working really well here. Let's go into states. So we moved around the country a bit and did that. We had something that worked well, so we did it in Sydney and we did it in Melbourne.
And how was that process? Go in and set it up, and then
it was
hire somebody to run it.
Well, we were really lucky with one part of our Canberra team moved to Sydney, so that was a no-brainer. They just took it and ran with it.
Wait, and then Melbourne team?
Yeah, so part of the guys that worked for us in Canberra, they moved to Sydney. So
Canberra. Got it. I think you said camera. Sorry.
Yeah. So they took it and ran with it. And then, that's kind of when I was like, okay, well, we're doing a lot of busy work, like we're doing all these things, but is it actually more profitable? And I decided to actually scale it back. So we now just do in Canberra again because it's easier for me to manage with very, very little input.
Sure.
Yeah, so you can make more money sometimes, but there's more effort, so you balance it out or find a better system to do it.
Got it. So year 3, you tested out some other cities. And
Yeah.
was that same year you just pulled the plug on that and scaled back?
We did it for a year, yeah, and then we scaled back, and our revenue kind of, our profit kind of stayed the same because our expenses, there.
So it didn't have any impact either way, and just released a lot of headaches.
Less
that you had.
work.
Yeah, relieved you of a lot more obligation and
Yeah.
Responsibility. I
Exactly.
get it. Okay.
Yeah, and
So-
so now,
How do we get from year 3 to year 5, or where we are now? Are you
Yeah.
still in the 160 mark a year?
yeah, so we've definitely gone up a lot more from there. But what we've changed from there, after that, year of going really hard and trying to expand really fast, pulling it back and just being smarter. So now we're looking at, we've just sold our first franchise. So that's,
No way. Like a market
Yeah.
franchise?
it's a market franchise. Yeah.
Where's
So
that
that's-
going?
That's in down in Tassie, which is a really nice place down the
And-
bottom of Australia.
Are they required to buy the herbs and spices from you?
Yeah, that's the core of the business. Yeah.
And then that, which is amazing because you
Yeah.
can make some revenue there without having to actually manage and run a.
Yeah, and they've got full ownership, so that's really cool.
You can keep a couple percents of profits or anything like that.
What's that?
With a franchise, don't they typically keep 2 to 4% of gross revenue or net revenue?
We've structured it so they're actually keeping the bulk. So we get, they buy a regular amount of chai from us, but they keep the bulk of the revenue.
They keep all
for
the
them.
revenue. You don't get anything.
Yeah, we get it through them buying the product.
Sure.
They,
No, I get it.
the more they sell, the better they do. So I wanted to structure it so it's really incentivized, and
Yeah.
the better
what
they
does a
do.
franchise cost? What do you sell the franchise for?
Ours were actually pretty cheap, so $4,500 for a
Oh,
franchise.
gosh. And you've got a product that somebody in 10 weeks is, 3-4 months is going to make that money back, or maybe even faster.
Oh yeah, faster. Yeah, so they've got bigger markets down there, so that's why
They're
we
going to make
chose
that back
that.
in a couple weeks. Wow.
Yeah, that's why we chose that place. Yeah, and then we went
and
along.
it's good for you because you're going to be selling a lot more of your tea.
Exactly, and there's
Yeah.
a lot of tourists down there as well, so it works on
Oh.
many levels.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Yeah, okay.
Yes. Yeah.
And you're pretty
then
confident these folks that you sold it to are going to do pretty well and not just run it into the ground.
They're fantastic. They had already run a business of their own there for like 6 years, so they were very experienced, and they were very successful in their previous venture as well. So they were, and having years of experience in hiring staff, it was easy to select the right franchisee as well.
How did that come about? Did they walk up and say, I want to buy a franchise?
No, you know what I did? I just put it on Facebook, and I found her within a day. It was amazing.
Wait a minute, what? You ran an ad?
Yeah, I just put it on our Facebook page, on our Real Chai Facebook page.
What did you put?
I just put something like, we want to start a franchise, get in contact with me. That simple. And someone passed it on to someone, and she gave me a call, and the rest is history.
And that first day, unbelievable.
Yeah.
So did you ever post it again?
No, well, we got quite a few. We got quite a few decent
You're
applicants.
like, I can only handle one sale at a time.
So she, to find someone who'd run their own in exactly the same environment for 6 years, I was like, it's a no-brainer. So yeah.
Unbelievable. Okay. So yeah, that works out well. Wow. And they're probably, how long have they owned it?
So we've just been going for 3 weeks, so it's brand new.
Have you heard anything on how they're doing sales wise?
Yeah, they're doing well. So they're up around what we were. Yeah, they're doing well.
What do you just ballpark? Are they doing $1,000 a weekend?
More than, yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
good for them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you really gave a great deal, and I imagine the tea has to be a reasonable price, obviously, to be able to keep margins in line for them, and hopefully you're making some revenue with that. Okay.
Yeah.
So and can I ask? So years 4, are we in the beginning of year 5, end of year 5? Where are we?
Now we're right at the beginning. Yeah.
Right at the beginning of year 5. So year 3, you expanded. Year 4, you pulled back, sold your first franchise. Year 5 starts. And
Year 5 has been all about kind of consolidating and just looking for easier ways again. So there's still a lot of manual work in these things, and you've got to train a franchisee and all the rest. So now we're going down the distribution model. So we want to get our chai into all the best cafes around the country. So that's how we're working now.
Hold on, before you get to that real quick. From the internet sales and from the markets and the franchise, how are sales today? I know you don't want to be specific, and I get it, but are you over, is it fair to say you're over $300,000 in sales?
Not quite, but getting up there.
But getting close.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I think okay, unbelievable. So are you making more now than you made at your IT job?
Definitely, yeah.
Triple? Double, triple, roughly?
I would say nearly double, yeah.
Nearly double? Could you have stayed at that job and earned that much money?
Well, I guess you can climb the career path, but I couldn't have stayed there.
Yeah, I mean, you're working in a basement. I get it. Okay, so with that said, and I know now you're working a little bit harder because you're doing the distribution model. You want to kind of seize the moment and run with it. But what, just from the stuff that's bringing in today's profit, the markets, the franchise, the website, what's your work like? Just that work. What is that? What does that look like as far as on a commitment from a weekly basis? Are you spending 40 hours a week doing the markets and the internet and all that?
Well, I don't actually spend any. So it's all set up. So we've got staff making it. We've got staff running it on the day, staff packing the internet orders. So I don't actually do anything. I write our marketing, our monthly newsletter. And like
tough.
I said, I know. I don't even have to check in with my staff anymore. If I want to grow, then obviously that's where.
When was the last time you went to the
energy
market
goes.
to see your?
Well, a long time ago. Yeah, months. Yeah.
Months. Yeah.
Months,
Isn't it weird?
Yeah.
So I mean, if you didn't care to grow this business any bigger, it's fair to say you could take the next year and travel and work maybe a couple hours a month.
Yeah, totally. Well, we want to have a family now. So, that was my aim all along, to set it up so that I would have something independent that was mine.
Do you have children now?
No.
Okay.
So we're waiting to get it to that point where, and my partner has his own business, but we're waiting. I was waiting to get it to that point where I had the kind of passive income that I wanted to, and the choice to, so I can totally invest more time and grow it, or I can just leave it tick along as it is.
So I think this is so cool. I mean, you went from working almost a full-time job. You had one day off a week prior, in a basement with, in just a horrible environment where your boss says you're weird, you don't fit in here.
Yeah.
And you're now doing twice as well. Really 4 years later, but probably closer to 3 since you just started year 5 and you were almost at your job the whole first year. So 3 to 4 years after you left, you're making double. And from the income that you're generating right now, you're putting in 5 hours a month. Is that fair?
Yeah. It could be less that I have to do. So I will find myself getting drawn back into things, things that I like to do.
Sure, you love
but that
it, yeah.
You could easily. We went away, for a month to France last year, and I put some pictures on Facebook, and that was about it.
How long were you gone?
For a month. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was it. So I get it. Yeah, I kind of enjoy updating the fan page, and yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Don't you think that's pretty cool?
I think it's amazing. And the other, the intangible stuff is that I've loved doing it. It's so satisfying and
it's so exciting. So, I mean, so this is cool. So you have this huge opportunity in front of you. You've got this unique product that people are loving. You've got 4 satellites out there now advertising your brand, essentially in the different markets. Is that right? You got 2 you're selling the tea at, 1 you franchise, and then 1 you can only sell the actual tins of tea and not the
We ditched one of them now. We've got 3.
You got 3, okay.
Yeah.
Why? I'm just curious, why ditch it even if it's earning not as much as you'd want?
I just didn't think, I kind of it's earning a couple of $100. It's just not worth it to me. I'd rather keep it simple, because that comes with, staff. You got to manage. You do have to have, even though I don't have.
Yeah, so you view it as maybe $200 a month and or $200 a week, and maybe it's doing $100 a month at websites. It's just not worth it. You'd rather focus your energy on bigger picture stuff. Okay, so You've got it dialed now, and you're doing really well. I mean, I just think that's so cool. And you have to just, do you ever see your old boss that told you were weird?
No, I haven't, but I'd love to bump into him.
You know what you should do? You know what you should do? You should send him a care package to his office. Does he still work there?
Probably. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's the
and
thing.
just say, you know what? Do you remember that one day you told me I didn't fit in? That day was the day I knew I needed to leave and do something on my own. And I just want to say thank you for the inspiration. I'm now earning twice as much as I did when I worked for you. I'm happier than I've ever been. And I've created this amazing tea. And I thought you might want to try it. So I've included some tins for you as a sign of appreciation for saying, calling me weird and telling me I didn't fit in here, because that really is what the catalyst was. I would love to rub it back in his face.
Yeah. And he'd still be like, weirdo.
He'd be like, oh, I remember this tea. She used to make it, and it was good. And now she's gone, and I'm stuck in this basement. And blah. Yeah, I love it. So anyway, that's a big motivator for me is when people tell you can't do it, or they just kind of put you down one way or another. It's just like I'm always like, I'm going to show that person.
I've always been like that too. Totally. Like super competitive with yourself as well. Like, I can do that. You said I can't do it. I can do it. Yeah.
I can do it, and I'm going to show you I can do it. I'm going to prove you wrong. Yeah. Yeah. That's such a weird thing, and I'm kind of rambling here, so we'll keep moving. I was just going to talk about my whole theory about what drives a lot of entrepreneurs, and oftentimes I find that it's acceptance, and at some stage in our life they weren't accepted for one reason or another. And anyway, but we won't go down that. We'll save that for the next interview we do with you when you're doing $1 million in revenue. So okay, so very cool. So what are you doing right now? What are you working on now?
Well, because I've got this time on my hands now, I just have loved this journey of doing my own thing and doing an unconventional thing, like making money out of chai is pretty obscure. So I'm like, well, whatever it is that you love, you can do it. So I've created a new website, a new blog in the last week or so, just to show people how easy it is to start your own thing. So it's weaving the market story of
you told me about this. What's it called? Quit Your Job?
It's called iquitmyjob.com.au because it's in Australia.
Okay, and if you guys are listening on iTunes, I will put this on the website over at themoneypillow.com. I'll put a link to it. So, and just so you know, Anthea, themoneypillow.com is getting so much traffic that you may want to increase your servers on iquitmyjob.com. Is it iquitmyjob.com?
.au.
Yeah, because it's going to just send a flood.
Yeah, awesome. Bring it on. Yeah, so I've started this thing. It's kind of in real time. It's showing, that you can just start a blog, and if you get out there and learn, what you need to learn, and you service a need for people, you actually, like you were saying, when you hit that nail on the head, that you're actually making a difference to people. So the aim is to make that difference by showing them how easy it is to do. So
yeah, it's funny. The last 3 or 4 interviews, and I'm not sure when this will air in comparison to them, but they were all great examples of people analyzing something that was missing from the marketplace or something that could be improved. And it was just things that they were passionate about and going about. And hey, I can
it's
build
the only way you find.
Yeah.
You have to do what excites you, and there's you can usually narrow it right down to that.
Sure.
So mine is just about starting, because I took 5 years to get started, and I don't want other people to faff around for that long, because it's just crazy. You don't need to.
Did you say fap around?
Faff around.
I don't even know what that means.
Must be an Aussie word.
You guys and your weird word. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
All right. So now you started this little blog, but also let's talk about the tea business for a second too. You're looking. You mentioned earlier you're looking at getting into a lot of boutique stores and coffee shops or tea shops.
Yeah. So we have handpicked the distributor that we want to work with, and we're really lucky they wanted to work with us as well. So they have taken our product on board, and they're distributing it for us. And we're at the moment
this is like the ultimate automation technique.
Oh, yeah, totally.
And how does just out of curiosity, how does this deal work? So you find a distributor, and I don't know if people listening really understand what that means, but essentially there is a person who already has all the built-in relationships with, I would imagine, dozens or hundreds of outlets or locations, and they then walk in and in their weekly or monthly visit. They say, oh, guess what? We have this new chai tea. You should try it. You should carry it. Is that how it works?
That's exactly how it works. And one of my reasons for doing it that way is because even though I learned to sell early on, I didn't love face-to-face selling. So to get into a few cafes, I did the door knocking and I learned a lot doing it, but I didn't love it. And I was like, well, there's people out there that love it. Like, it's their job. They love selling. So let's hook up with them.
And I would imagine this company that's doing the distribution has multiple people out there selling as well.
Yeah, they've got a team. So it would be crazy for me to try and go to cafes, around.
And then how does that deal work? You have to give them a percentage of all sales, or do you sell them the tea at one thing and then they mark it up?
Exactly. We sell it to them in bulk and then they pass it on. Yeah.
Okay, so how does that, I'm just curious how that works. If one of the boutiques goes to your website and sees they can buy it at wholesale for a cheaper price, or is that even...
In this case, they would just go through their supply because they have such good relationships with them, and we would never undercut that. Like, I'm not interested in, doing that.
No, I'm not. I'm just wondering how that kind of deal works, because that would be like something I would think like, well, how is that going to work if they find it cheaper here? And
they're much better off going through their distributor because they get looked after and they get that regular visits and they've got relationships.
How long ago did that start? Has it just started?
It's just started in the last few months, so that's kind of just growing. It's picking up.
Did you have high expectations for that, and it's not going at the pace, or did you have no expectations? Or
Yeah. No, I did have. Excuse me. I did have high expectations for that, and I've got high expectations for everything. So I've just kind of had to learn. Someone said to me, business is a marathon, not a sprint, and I kind of had to really plant that in my brain and use it as a mantra.
Yeah, but you want to sprint the marathon, right?
I like to sprint, yeah. But that's the difference when you pass it on over to someone else. You go at their pace. And
what's that done for in 2 months, 3 months?
Yeah.
Just curious because here's the thing. Do you start to wonder, did I pick the right distributor? They're not selling at the pace that we thought, or have you had those kind of thoughts?
I think that I have, because we picked them based on quality, so they are super fussy about how things are done, and they've got an amazing reputation. So for me, I'm really happy to go down a slower route, to go down the better route, so that it's getting into the right places.
Did they give you expectations that it would be this way?
They gave me expectations that it would be slow, like from the start. They were
good.
Slow, yeah,
and I'm sure it's a matter of educating the sales force, and then getting that sales force will sell to one out of the first 20 they talk to, and then that one will come back and be like, oh my God, I can't keep this in stock fast enough. And then that changes them. I get it. Yeah.
And because I'm in that position where, we've got to the point where we can have a family, we can do what we want. So there's no pressure there. Like, I can be a bit choosy and say, well, I'll take this slower route and stay with the people I really want to work with. Because it's so important to work with people you want to work with as well, like to have a good time with them and have good relationships. So
I get it. I agree. Okay, so with that said, what's that done to the bottom line revenue wise, if you don't mind me asking, or just some sort of ballpark vague figure? Have you added $5,000 in new sales in a few months through the distributor? 10,000, 20,000?
Yeah. So it's only been small. Like, we're talking low thousands to get started. But that is fine for us. Like, you got to start somewhere, and
what do you anticipate that growing to? Just out of curiosity.
Well, it's a good question. I think it's hard to answer directly without giving too much away from their perspective. So okay. I think the cool thing is that I can see that it's actually not even just Australia where this can go. Like, it's definitely an international market. So I've got that in the back of my mind too. It's like, the question now is, how big do you want it to go? So once you get it to that comfortable stage, then you go.
Yeah, and then you're going to have to move into a 100,000 square foot warehouse manufacturing facility. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, there's people around.
You're a big lifestyle person and value that. And there's a certain point where, well, the other thing is too, I know a lot of people who exit.
Yeah.
So they
Well,
build a
that's
company.
crossed my mind too. It's crossed my mind too. Yeah, because I'm loving this new I quit my job thing as well, even though it's not earning a cent yet. But the enthusiasm, it's all that it's new again. So the enthusiasm is all there. I'm like, maybe I just want to do this, and so I could sell this or bring in an investor as well. So they're kind of the thoughts that are bubbling up at the moment as well.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. So I don't know if we covered everything. Do we get the whole thing, or is there any other plans or things you're working on?
Yeah, that's the main kind of direction now.
Yeah.
Is just going. Yeah, it's kind of we want to raise the bar in the cafe scene. Like we've created a product that's really, really good for cafes, much better than anything else that's out there. So that's kind of the next. We've done the domestic market through the markets literally, and now we want to go the cafe route as well.
Do you guys ever do iced chais?
Yeah, we do in summer. Yeah, it keeps our revenue fairly stable over the seasons by switching it up. Yeah,
That's the only chai I've ever had is iced.
yeah. You would have had, I imagine, in the States, as a powdered chai as well, like or a syrup
No
or
idea.
something.
No idea.
Yeah.
There was just a cool coffee shop in Columbus that I used to go to, and my buddy Lewis was just like, "Hey, try this thing. It's amazing." And I did. I loved it. But
There you go.
and that was what I got every time I went in there instead of coffee. But I'm not. I don't go in there anymore because I don't live there anymore. So anyway, all right. Well, very cool. So I think your story is super cool. You took something really simple and grew it from in a really simple manner. Now I've grown it into a fairly big business. And actually, hold on. If you're now got these into the hands of the distributor, you probably still aren't working all that much if there's nothing else, no other world domination plans. Are you doing anything that requires your work, like moving into a new facility and manufacturing stuff? Or
Well, actually, that has made me get back into the work mode at the moment because we are moving right as we speak into a new
you are?
manufacturing facility. Yeah,
Wow.
so we've been getting a bit hands-on with that and actually, plastering and doing all that kind of jazz as well. So that's going to be good. We'd run out of space, so we needed a bigger place.
were you doing it from home before?
But we were, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Were you in your kitchen just whipping it up?
We'd converted 2 rooms, so
In your house?
and it's starting to go down the hallway, and everywhere is being taken over.
Oh
so,
God! And
yeah.
Quick question. Excuse me. What from a fulfillment standpoint? How many orders? Just ballpark. I mean, you can be super vague, but is it 500 orders a year, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000?
So I reckon it's probably about 1,000.
Okay, 1,000. And is somebody on your staff hand packaging that and shipping it off?
Yeah, so it's all ready to go, and then it just gets shipped off. So we've actually, because it was from home, I actually had my dad who was just there, and he would send it.
He would do it, yeah.
For me. Yeah.
They're, and you probably weren't paying him anything, were you?
Yeah.
I love it.
Bless him.
No, you know what? With physical products, especially people in your stage, I find a lot of people have not looked into fulfillment yet. And a lot of people in the States, I don't know how it is in Australia, but use Amazon fulfillment services,
Okay.
which is amazing. I have a friend that manufactures some stuff in China and has it shipped straight to Amazon. And because Amazon gets such good shipping rates, and actually a lot of the deals on shipping are a lot cheaper than what you might pay going with a traditional carrier if you just knew how to look or where to find it. But it's just a tricky landscape of searching out all the options. But anyway, my point was, and I'm just going to use vague examples, but it was costing him $10 to ship his item, right?
Yeah.
And with that, he was taking it, putting it in a box. The box actually cost $1. Just ballpark it again. Box cost $1. He taped it. The tape cost 10 cents, and the postage was $8.90. And then he had to drive to the post office, deliver it, or have them come pick it. Something. Anyway, it was a process. And then there were screw ups on orders. They were sent back. You sent me the wrong order. I ordered this, I didn't get that. Or you sent the order to the wrong address. Hey, I never got the order. And then you look, oh God, I screwed up. Anyway, so he looked into using Amazon fulfillment services. And Amazon was able to fulfill all of his shipping needs. I forget the deal. I want to say it's like if the order comes in before 10 a.m. or 11 a.m., it's shipped same day. If it's after that, it's shipped next day. And his stuff just goes straight from China. I think a receiver receives it, gets through customs, and then it goes to Amazon. and he never sees his product anymore, never touches it. All of it is shipped within, let's just say 48 hours, worst case scenario, because I kind of forget the numbers a little bit. There's never any screw-ups, and he never touches it, never thinks about it. And the best part is he's now paying $9 per thing. He's saving $1, and he doesn't have to think about it.
Exactly. I think that's the next step for us that we'd like to do as well. So, in small numbers, you can just do it.
You can do it yourself. Yeah, but I get it. But just something to think about. And I was throwing that out there for anybody listening that's doing any manufacturing. I have another friend that does this artwork stuff, and she sells her prints and sells a lot of them. And she's got this super fancy printer at home that every day is printing off the order. She's packaging them, running them to the post, and I'm like, are you kidding me? So we looked into printing fulfillment. We Googled printing fulfillment, her and I at lunch one day, and she found, I haven't followed back up with her, but she's found 4 options that print on the the exact kind of paper she used and same kind of quality and blah, blah. Anyway, so
life-changing lunchtime. Yeah.
No, it's just a good idea. Yeah. When you're shipping anything physical, to start looking into fulfillment stuff, especially at the stage you're in. I would think it would be an easier time to make that kind of transition versus 10,000 units where there's a lot at stake if something gets screwed up or the relationship doesn't work out in one way or another. But
yeah, it's a good tip. I love it.
Yeah. Okay, so this really isn't about me giving tips. That just came up, and sorry. Okay, so moving on. I think we covered just about everything in your business, and I'm fascinated. I think it's a great story. My guess is you guys will be cracking the code on distribution, getting into more outlets, and online sales will increase, and franchise stuff will increase. And I bet your business continues to grow at 30-40% annually. And I'm really looking forward to kind of following your journey. Before we say goodbye, 2 things. I can see you have a giant wall of books. I don't know if that's your husband's books or some of those are yours.
It's both, yeah.
Yeah. Are there any business books that you've read that you would recommend to somebody in the last year or two that are really good?
Yes, I would, totally. So it's not on the shelf because I read this on my iPad, but I think his name's Gay Hendricks. Have you heard? It's called The Big Leap.
Yes, I've heard of the book. And okay.
It's really cool. It's about going from your so you might be in it talks about your zone of genius. So that's that sweet spot where you're actually doing everything you love and you're excelling in it. So you're not just doing something that you're good at and doing okay at. But it's about going from, that level where you could actually just cruise there, like we could in our business. We could just cruise there and that's okay. But stepping up and it's about the kind of inner kind of gremlins that come up when you are taking that next leap to where you really should be. So I found that book really excellent because I think as an entrepreneur, you do come up against, you're always pushing, you're always, stretching and it's nice to know that there's a process going on there. Like when you're getting out of your comfort zone, you're kind of taking another leap and you're getting closer to that zone where you're really just thriving.
Love it. I love it. You know what? Someone else recommended that book. I think it was Melanie Duncan in the very first episode we did.
Oh, really? Yeah.
I think it was her. It may have been somebody else, but I just Googled it while we were talking, and I see the cover, and I'm like, yeah, that's on my blog somewhere because I remember seeing this. Okay, so Big Leap, any others that have been really impactful?
Yeah, I think one I read a little while before that was called The E-Myth.
And the E-Myth, Michael Gerber.
Yeah. And that's, all about systemizing, and really relevant.
Amazing book,
really relevant for online and offline. Just get everything you can, like you're suggesting with your shipping, and, streamline the process and get all the bugs out of it, and just so you are there less and less and less.
Sure.
Yeah. So that was a cool one.
I get it. Okay. Very cool. And then last thing, we may have covered it in the interview or whatnot, but any sort of systems or automation you can remember that you put into place that relieved a lot of work from you? Was there one moment, maybe it was just hiring an employee to do the job, obviously that was a good one. Was there anything else that you did that kind of created that freedom a little bit more?
Yeah, look, I think it sounds kind of super basic, but it was actually just coming up with basic weekly systems as well. So every week we do the same things, like we get ready for the same market. But each week in the beginning, I would run around going, oh, where's my thing? And what do I need this? So we just stepped back and, wrote lists for everything. This is what we need to pack. This is when we need to do it. And just kind of, didn't reinvent the wheel.
Created like a roadmap. Yeah.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
You look at step 1, step 30, we're done. You don't have to think. And
exactly. Yeah. So there's a really cool book that's a design book called Don't Make Me Think, which I really love. Like, you just don't need to waste time and energy on unnecessary things over and over again.
Love it. Yeah. In fact, that was one of the ideas that I had was creating a iPhone app in conjunction with a grocery where with your credit card, it recognized all of your purchases and they could look up your purchase history and things like toilet paper, toothpaste, paper towels, and all these things, eggs, milk. There were shopping habits formed, and your iPhone app would pull up a weekly list based on what you've been purchasing. And,
great.
And then you could say, yep, buy it, and then you could go and show up and get it done. And I mean, just to take the thought, I don't do any of the shopping in my house. My wife was like, I don't know, I kind of like the whole thought process. And I'm like, are you crazy? Like, I would much rather dedicate that time to
to something not unnecessary. Yeah,
I think
keep so much unnecessary data in there.
Yeah, we're totally getting off on a diatribe, but I think we're going to see some major changes that are going to free up a lot of our time from technology. We already have the technology now. It's just people going, okay, that's a good idea, and actually doing it. But I think the way we shop, the way we pay for things, all these things are going to change in the next 10 years and do so rapidly and really make our lives a lot better and save us a lot of time and give us a lot more freedom. So it's going to be exciting to see. Yeah.
Love technology.
What's that?
Gotta love technology.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so very cool, Anthea. I really appreciate you coming on. This has been a really cool interview. I was excited to do it. You've got a great energy about you, and it's been cool to kind of hear the story, the whole story.
Yeah, I really hope it helps inspire, other people to just go. My main message is to just go, like, give it a try, It
will. I think it will. And you know what? I'm kind of a big deal in Australia. I'm joking, but for a long time I was ranked up really high in iTunes in Australia, way higher than I was in the States. And so this model is definitely applicable in that area because you do have so many markets. And here in the U.S. we do too. It's just a little bit different the way they're done because I've been to Australia and I've seen your markets and I loved it. It was like the one in Melbourne. What's it called?
It's the Queen Victoria Market.
Queen Victoria Market. Yeah, what a cool place.
They're just great platforms. I don't know. Do you know the designer Sass and Bide? They're a huge name here in Australia, and they started at one of the markets that we were at. So,
what kind of designer?
Like clothing designer. Yeah. So,
they could be a huge name here too, and I wouldn't know.
Right. Asking the wrong person.
Yeah. My wife, on the other hand, probably would.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, and if they're huge here, I'm sure there's clothes in the closet.
There you go, yeah.
I'm teasing. So anyway, awesome interview. I really appreciate you coming on. I will put up a link on themoneypillow.com for the Real Chai, for your new website, the iquitmyjob.com.au one, links to the books that you recommended. Was it? Oh yeah, the 2 books, E-Myth and The Big Leap. And is there anything else? Are you active on social at all? You want people to connect with you anywhere?
Yeah, sure. So we've got 2 Facebook pages. So we've got the Real Chai Facebook page, which is just Real Chai, all one word. And then we've also got the brand new page, which is the I Quit My Job. But actually, the name for that one is Goodbye Monday-itis, if you want to type
Goodbye Monday-itis. I'll link it up, so don't even worry about searching it.
Make it easy. Yeah.
Awesome.
Cool.
Very cool. Well, I guess that's it. Again, just really appreciate you coming on and just a great interview. So thank you so much, Anthea.
Thanks, Sean. It's been fantastic.
Likewise.